Hi there, welcome to first in what's hopefully a long series of reviews on different books and topics. And this one's partially from a request, but also this program in specific, I'm a very big fan of. It's the Intensive Phonological Awareness Program. And yeah, so just a key intervention program for some pretty foundational skills. And I feel like in this area, there are some things out there which I don't feel are always as aligned with research basis or are more expensive or do, things that not necessarily needed. And, they all have their different pedigrees for different reasons. So, these include, and the decent programs if you have them, but they, I might tweak them a little bit. But like Hegarty built a intervention program which does a lot of things. In the homeschool world, there's the earlier Barton is this foundation in sounds, which does very similar things to what does here at a fraction of the cost. And this is pretty easy to implement these basic skills. So there's these other things out there. And then also oftentimes people don't even know how do I intervene in, phonological awareness, and, just doing activities over time leads, you want something structured, scope and sequence. So, this is a complete package here and really cost effective. You can get one 30, 40 bucks. Links below. Sometimes you might be able to find it at a library if you want to check it out. So yeah, and let's get going. Let's look a little deeper. So here's a brief overview. This program was written by Melanie Schul, who's a PhD and also an SLP, and another partner who's also an SLP, Naomi Murphy. So, some speech language pathologists know the research, know the field very well. Good pedigree as far as what's needed to get kids reading. And forward by Louisa Moats. Those of you in the science of reading camps out there will definitely recognize that name. So pretty good nod from one of the leaders in this field on this program. Publication date. So this was made in 2014. So a little old, but I know there's a lot of debates around some of the phonemic awareness stuff these days, which kind of talk a little bit about as we go along here. But by and large, a lot of these debates have kind of been going on. A lot of the stuff's been in the literature since that time. Intended use. So yeah, this was written as primarily as a K through 2 tier 2 intervention. So, the young ones, there's a lot of little hands-on games. The pictures are a little younger. You could bump that up depending on the kid. I've used this depending on the profile, once again, and what, a lot of different factors. I've used this with kids as old as 4th or 5th grade if I'm getting them late. And oftentimes there's still pretty intense gaps depending on cognitive profiles, other things. But yeah, as intended, it's definitely meant for those kids who are still struggling, can't even, can't lift up their letter, can't lift their letter sounds onto their graphemes, all that. And depending on your school site, your tier 1 instruction, you might get some kids in tier 3 or special ed who could totally benefit from this, even though it's listed as a tier 2 intervention. And that goes with a lot of programs out there. So, in the ideal world, these kind of markings of tier 2 is kind of how it works. But, if your tier 1's not doing any phonological awareness, probably have a whole bunch of special ed kids in your program that could use this very well. So just something to keep in mind with some of those designations at large. And on the cover of this, back cover, they also mention this other program for tier 1 is phonemic awareness in young children. This is a classic. This is an older program, but super awesome program, very play-based, sequentially built. Once again, at a fraction, you can probably pick up a used copy for pretty cheap. I'll leave a link below if you want to check it out. If you want to get to phonemic awareness and stuff as quicker as possible to be a little more in line with some of these debates going on, you could truncate some of the earlier stuff in here, but the nice thing about this program is it does build slowly, only introduces a few skills at a time. It's not bombarding kids with all these kind of random sequences and stuff. So a very nice tier 1 program here, very cost effective. So between this and this other program, you could, for under $100, you could have a complete tier 1 and early intervention program for phonemic awareness and letter sounds. And even if you know how to use it, basic reading and writing, if you want to extend it with some other knowledge, under $100. And, you know, all the research shows that knocks out about, I don't know, 40, 50% of your SPED population potentially, depending what you're reading. So I'm a pretty big advocate on, you know, this kind of stuff as early as possible, especially considering the cost effectiveness of doing this within a school, how easy it is at this age, and giving a kid a really strong foundation or identifying. So if you've been following along with some of the early literacy videos I'm providing, this will give you a nice foundation too with some of these works, and, you know, hoping some of these reviews will give you some ideas of programs that you can use as well. Okay, so implementation time. As intended, no more than 30-minute sessions, 3 times a week for 12 weeks. Now, this can be truncated in various forms, depending, you know, like I cut out some of the rhyming exercises in the beginning, which I'll talk about, just because they're not so intensive for reading and writing, and they, you know, they're more intended as a warm up. So depending, you know, your knowledge background and, you know, what you know how to adapt, you can get this down. And also this 30 minutes, once the kids, there's some routines in here. Once the kids start picking up things, especially if, you know, maybe, like I said, they don't have tier 1 and they just need to move a little quicker, and they finally got exposed to something like this for the first time, they might pick up on quick, and these 30-minute sessions can be reduced pretty quickly. And then you could, you know, do some reading, writing, that kind of thing to reinforce the skills being taught here. Yeah, and, you know, if you had more than 3 times a week, then great. You could move along a little quicker. What's provided in here? So it's basically one book you get, which has like the instructor's manual. Everything's pretty nicely laid out, which I'll show you here in a minute. There are printable manipulatives for all the games and things like that. And I saw a lot of complaints on some of the reviews. This used to be in CD form with the book, and it looks like they've gone over to downloadable documents online, which a lot of people are doing these days. And a lot of people saying they couldn't find them online, this or that. They do exist. If you buy this book and you can't get the downloadable manipulatives, I strongly recommend contacting the publisher, and they'll probably get you them. And yeah, they're actually absolutely crucial to using this program. So if you can't get the printable manipulatives and the publisher won't give you them, you might want to return the book, and yeah, hopefully, or find an old copy with the CD in it. There's also audio files that go along with it. So if you're new to some of this and you're not sure how to break apart the words or the sounds, there are audio examples to help you along. And, you know, within the manual, there's lots of organizational docs for, you know, tracking intervention sessions, scope and sequence, things like that, that are super handy for having a, you know, a structured intervention within this realm. Because even though phonological awareness seems simple, you still need to pay pretty close attention to it, particularly if a kid struggles and it's at an intervention level. So yeah, something like this is just, I can't speak highly enough about it, honestly. What's needed? So there's a long list of needed materials within here, but they're pretty standard. Letter magnets, you know, little phonemic letter tiles, popsicle sticks. You make some other manipulatives with some of the pictures, paper bags, mirrors, potentially just to see, you know, sounds and the mouth shapes and all that. Alphabet picture cards, small blocks, game pieces, busy children picture books, so they can go hunting for, you know, different words that start with this or that. Sound, timer, stopwatch, envelopes, plastic bags, index cards. A lot of these are more for organizational pieces, dry erase board, you know, pretty standard teaching materials that's not included that you have to procure. So if you have an assistant or something, you can have them put together this, in a short amount of time and get running with it. Okay, so that's the brief overview. And here's the scope and sequence. So you can see, like I said, full programs, 12 weeks, and it's kind of broken up into 4-week chunks. So, 3-week chunks. So yeah, 3. So you got rhyming for 3 weeks. And once again, if a student's already rhyming, or they mention in the manual that this is meant to kind of warm the kids up. If they're not used to this program can be done in small groups and adapted for, I think, even like 6 to 8 kids. So you can have some pretty decent sized groups with this. But a lot of the rhyming exercises are meant to warm up the groups, make it playful, make it fun, because pretty quickly the rest of it is jumping into phonemic skills and identifying, single sounds, which is where most kids really struggle, and is also that key link to reading and writing that we need to focus on. So depending on the group, your situation, you can kind of think about this rhyming section. That's what I did. If you want to stay strict to fidelity, do the rhyming. And then they move on to initial sounds, and you can see here, nice sequence. So initial sound judgment. There's lots, like I said, each of these have lots of different games, matching initial sounds, sorting initial sounds, segmenting initial sounds, generating initial sounds. And then last one, they start to transition into final sounds. And then this next whole section is very, very similar. Nice step-by-step for the kids, working on same sequence with final sound. And then last 3 weeks, they're fully segmenting and blending, going from CV and VC words to CVC. And it does end up with consonant blends at the end. So, you can start throwing in CCVC, CVCC, all those kind of little more tricky patterns to get kids going with their foundational reading skills. So nice little scope and sequence here. So what would you expect if you're going to be implementing this? So like I said, there's a lot of organizational materials in the program. So in the back, there's some appendices. Each week, they have a nice little checklist for you to put together of all the things you'll be needing. So, there's some of these materials you have to get on your own: alphabet magnets, alphabet puzzle, picture card, all this. But then the key part is these manipulatives, which you need to print out. And, they tell you exactly what to do: print it out, laminate it. Laminator is a teacher's best friend if you haven't figured that out yet. Put it in your envelope here, and, you're good to go. You can put little, envelopes, put it in a box. I just kept everything could fit in a small little box. So if you have interventionists sharing things, moving around classrooms, you can just take your little box, go from classroom to classroom, check it out, or, check out the week's materials that you need. Not super intensive. And then in the actual instructional manual, each week you have a nice little overview for what you'll be focusing on for each session. So each of these sessions, 10, 11, 12, once again, that's 3 times a week as the protocol goes. So these are the 3 lessons for this week 4 here. This week 4, once again, is a possible start point if you're going to skip the rhyming activities and jump straight to phoneme level. I would not cut out anything more than rhyming necessarily, especially if a kid's needing something like this, because once again, you're also establishing routines, how the program works, how kids are supposed to respond. And, because there are games and hands-on things, you want to do something like that. And I know with this age group too, you get some movement, you get some behaviors, things like that. So you might want to even incorporate some reinforcers with like point systems for good behavior, or, if everyone's on task and follows all the directions, you can, give points for that at the end, so you can play it up. You do want to be careful with taking away things in those systems. This isn't a behavior speech, but just things to think about with interventions like this in this age group. So yeah, and then we jump into once again, so yeah, the putting things together here, just what do those manipulatives look like? So they come in full color, and I blocked some of this out for different reasons, but you can see that depending on the games, the manipulatives are going to be a little different, and there's all sorts of things they use in here to vary it. So fish, flower, does that sound match? These actually cut apart. The kids have, you mix them up, and the kids actually have to find the sounds that go together based on the picture matching, put them together. Here, kind of pictures to Elkonin boxes, monkey, that's a syllable one, but E, right? So they have this going on, and then they have game boards. So this is like a game board for 8 kids with different blending segmenting tasks. So a wide variation of manipulatives. Once again, print, laminate, cut out, and make for the program, just to give you some idea. And then, yeah, sample lesson. So each lesson has only maybe a couple pages to follow. Once you get into, once again, the routines, some of the things going on, not a lot of setup, but plenty of teacher verbiage. Each activity, sorry, each lesson starts with letter review here, and you can use lots of different materials for this. The kids are, working on the sounds and letters of the alphabet here. So we are getting some of that grapheme work. So a lot of people these days talking about how you have to, do phonemic awareness with letters, do phonemic awareness with letters. There is some of that in here, perhaps not as details as, doing a lot of heavy grapheme writing work, but this program is effective for those, some kids really get stuck on, just being able to cement their letter sounds and start to use them effectively. So this really is that stepping backwards a little bit, letting them really hearing the sounds, using these pictures, these other hands-on manipulatives. I found it to be really, really a key help for a lot of kids. So anyway, so yeah, some of the letter work comes on here. Initial sound judgment. Once again, they have teaching strategies, full directions, teacher verbiage. We have the session stimuli, which is all set up with the sounds coming in here, and some teaching tips, teaching strategies. So, I've had TAs, assistants, paraprofessionals who have been able to literally hand this program over to, more or less. They knew some other things and trained them in as well, but easy to get up and get running with, and taking kids who were struggling for quite some while with other stuff. And once again, this is assistance. So, some people think, oh, you have to have XYZ training, and training's great, knowledge is great. I don't underestimate, it's the most important thing. But especially at some of these foundational levels, you can take something like this, and a decently trained assistant can run with this, and seen take from non-readers to make readers out of it with things like this. So something to keep in mind. So yeah, so this is a sample, pretty simple set up and go. And then we have implementation. So yeah, once again, there's lots of implementation tools like this to keep track of sessions. This is just one variation. They have lots of different variations for larger groups, and you can adapt and modify these things how you want, or if they have some for just individual sessions, if a kid's really intense and needs a lot of one-on-one focus. There's a lot of support tools in here for making a nice structured, accountable scope and sequence for an intervention. And that's it. So that's a basic overview. If you enjoyed this, please check out the other content. I'm starting to really make a lot more stuff on this channel and getting it going. If you can support us by even just clicking any of the links below this, buying stuff from those links, or we have some stuff through Ko-Fi. You can donate, you can do all sorts of stuff. So please check it out. If you want me to review anything else, or some questions, please feel free to comment, and I'll do what I can. I have access to lots of stuff. As you can see, I like books. So anyways, yeah, thanks, and take care.